Lorraine Beeman. I'm an interview coach who helps individuals excel during interviews by sharing insights and strategies on how to respond to interview questions, including questions that are illegal. Before we get any further in this video, let me define what's an illegal question, because it changes from location to location. Usually they're questions about your age, political party, religious affiliation, gender identity. But for the sake of this conversation, I want to talk about illegal questions as questions that really are not related to the job, and ask you personal information, again, that is not related to the job. And the reason I say this is, if you're applying for a job to work with the Republican Party, it's a fair question to ask what your political affiliation is. If you're applying for a job in civil service, it's not an okay question to ask. So rather than spend a lot of time trying to define what's illegal, I want to empower you with a skill that lets you respond to a question that makes you feel uncomfortable and that you feel is not key to job success. So there are 3 ways to respond to this type of question. One is to provide the information. Even though these questions may be considered illegal in some jurisdictions, it is not illegal for you to answer that question. And if you feel comfortable sharing that information, then go forward and do it. You can answer the question with a question. And let me give you an example. Let's say that someone asks you, well, how old are you? And you know it has nothing to do with the job, and you really don't want to share your age. So a response could be, well, what is the average age of the person that works here? 2 things have happened. One, you've stopped the conversation, because the person that is asking questions now has to stop and kind of do some mental math about what's the average age. And they'll come up with something like, oh, most of the people that work here are in their 20s, to which you can respond, well, that's wonderful. I can't think of a better team to work with than people in their 20s. The third answer to this question is a specialized answer for folks who fall in that group of people who are responsible for monitoring illegal questions. Those are people in HR, maybe people who do a lot of hiring. And so if you're asked one of those questions and you fall into that category, one of your responses can be, you know, I appreciate the fact that you want to know more about me by asking me, personal questions. But the position I am going to be assuming is going to ensure that I make sure that this company does not ask these type of questions during interview. So right now, I would like to take a pass. Okay, so a question makes you feel uncomfortable, or you think it's outside the realm of a job responsibility. You have 3 possibilities of ways to answer. Just share your answer, ask a question, and then whatever they come back with, say, that sounds like a great team to work with. And the third is to show that you're educated enough to know that the question being asked is not legal, but showing that you understand that, or you're assuming that the person is asking the question because they want to get to know you. And that is probably the bottom line on responding to illegal questions, is you do not want to be accusatory. I always encourage people to assume the interview is just asking because they want to get to know you better. And that's okay. But it's not okay to ask the question. So you want to be polite, you want to be firm, but you don't want to say, you can't ask that question because it's illegal.